Did a sitting attorney general ignore an execution by federal agents? Congressman Steve Cohen just accused Pam Bondi of looking the other way, and the room went dead silent.
Proper fashion, as you have. Secondly, I'd like to thank all of the victims of the Epstein case who've come here to attend this hearing, for doing it and for being brave and trying to move this justice forward. I apologize, I can't do it, but the Attorney General not recognizing it, that's embarrassing. I am from Memphis, General Bondi, and Memphis does have the task force there. The Memphis Safe Task Force has been operating in Memphis for several months, and we do have a Democratic Mayor, Paul Young, and he's not against the task force, but he's against ICE being in Memphis, and he's not in favor of the National Guard being in Memphis, and I concur with him on those positions. I think the DEA being there, the alcohol, tobacco, firearms, the FBI, who have been in Memphis in other ways, having more people there is good for Memphis. Crime has gone down in Memphis, but it went down 25% before the task force got there under the direction of Mayor Young and Director Davis, Chief Davis. It's gone down about 15% more since then, and that's good. But I would like to comment that Mexico City's homicide rate has gone down 40% during the same time, when Memphis has only gone down 25%, and that's not necessarily because of the task force, although the mayor says he thinks it's helped. So I thank you for that. You would agree, I presume, that violent crime in communities across our country is critically important, and that's why the task force is there. Is that not true?
Yes, and if I can just add to that, I think the surge, the FBI, our FBI under the leadership of Director Patel, came in and did a surge in Memphis.
Earlier.
Prior to the task force. And thank you for saying that about Mayor Young. He's been great to work with, and thank you.
He's a good guy.
He's a very good guy.
One problem I've got with where we are in priorities here. A recent Department of Justice, National Institute of Justice report based on arrest records in Texas and in California found that undocumented immigrants were less than half as likely as U.S.-born Americans to be arrested for homicide. And this pattern holds for assault, sexual assault, robbery, burglary, theft, and arson. Half as likely to be arrested for drug offenses. So I ask you, and I've written to you about this, there are TV ads that run that say to local law enforcement, specifically, says, are you tired of having your hands handcuffed because you can't do the things you wanted to do when you joined, and if you want to do something different, join ICE and you'll get a $50,000 bonus, and we'll pay off your debts, student debts, and we'll help you with pensions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they're encouraging local law enforcement to leave local law enforcement and go to work for ICE. We need people working in the front lines and local law enforcement to protect our citizens from the worst of the worst. The worst of the worst are not the immigrants. The worst of the worst, records show, are native-born Americans, and they are committing crimes that hurt our citizens and our cities, and you're working against it, and thank you for that. But by trying to get our local law enforcement, where we have an undercount of officers in Memphis, to leave Memphis and go to work for ICE to deport people is a wrong priority. Why are we trying to get people, policemen who are working on the front lines, to leave the front lines, take the $50,000 and go to work for ICE and instead of working to fight the worst of the worst?
Congressman, I have not yet seen that commercial, that ad. I would argue that we need strong people in both local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and all of our federal agencies working together. I've seen some of the worst violent criminals who were in this country illegally. We both know that. And in Memphis, working hand in hand, I want to stick with Memphis and your mayor and what you discussed, because there have been nearly 6,000 arrests as of February 8th, and I think you agree with this, in your district, and almost 600 gang members. What we found in Memphis, a lot of the gangs are local gangs. But 600 gang members were taken off the streets.
My time, because I've only 40 seconds. I'm going to agree with you. I thank you for that.
And 148 missing children were recovered by all of us working together, and nearly 1,000 illegal guns were seized as a result of us working together.
And I don't disagree with some of the things you said, but there are questions about those children, but it's a different thing. The fact is, ICE is running rampant, and you are not investigating them. When they killed Mr. Pretti, and Ms. Good, that was an execution, and you did not investigate it. And you tried to investigate Ms. Good's widow, and you tried to investigate Mr. Pretti. They were executed, like Kristi Noem executed her dog. And that was wrong. And you should investigate those people, and you should investigate anybody that uses a weapon, federal official or not, for civil rights violations. I yield back the balance.
Gentleman yields back his time. Madam Attorney General, anytime you need a break, just let us know. If not, we'll just keep going. The chair is now recognized.
What happened in this hearing should shake every American who still believes in equal justice under the law. Steve Cohen didn't mince words, and he didn't play politics. He laid out a chilling accusation that U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents carried out what he called the execution of Alex Pretti and Renee Good, and that the Department of Justice, under Pam Bondi, failed to properly investigate it. Cohen didn't just challenge policy, he challenged morality. He pointed out that local crime in Memphis was already falling before federal task forces arrived, dismantling the narrative that militarized immigration enforcement is what makes communities safer. Then he went further, citing data showing undocumented immigrants are statistically less likely to commit violent crimes than native-born citizens. That's not rhetoric, that's evidence, and it directly contradicts the fear-based justification used to flood cities with ICE operations. The most damning moment came when Cohen accused the DOJ not only of failing to investigate the agents involved, but of turning scrutiny back onto the victims themselves and their families. That flips justice on its head. When federal power is used lethally, accountability isn't optional. It's the foundation of democracy. Civil rights law exists precisely for moments like this, when the bad becomes a shield against consequences. Bondi's response leaned on broad claims of coordination and arrests, but it never addressed the core charge: why no serious civil rights investigation followed the killings. Numbers don't absolve unlawful force. Arrest totals don't excuse a dead civilian, and praising cooperation doesn't answer why grieving families were met with suspicion instead of justice.